Imagine walking into a car dealership and seeing a brand new electric car for under $8,000. In China, that's not a dream, it's reality. But this low price is part of a fierce price war that's now threatening China's entire economy. It all started in late 2022 when Tesla cut prices on its China-made cars to protect its market share. That move set off a chain reaction. BYD, China's biggest automaker, responded by slashing prices even more. By early 2024, BYD had lowered prices on 22 models, including the BYD Seagull, which dropped below $8,000. That's cheaper than some smartphones in the West. And this wasn't a toy. It was a solid electric vehicle for city use. The price war had officially begun. Soon, over 100 Chinese EV companies, many backed by local governments, jumped in. What started as a way to attract customers became a fight to survive. Prices dropped so much that companies began losing money, burning through cash just to stay in business. And the damage didn't stop at EVs. The price war spread to solar panels, where prices dropped 80% in 2 years. Steel and glass prices also plunged. Even battery makers faced pressure, being forced to cut prices or wait for late payments. This created a domino effect. As top firms cut prices, others had to follow or risk collapse. Margins shrank, debt rose, and desperation grew. The industry was stuck in a vicious cycle of falling profits. Meanwhile, most Western carmakers like Ford and Volkswagen backed out. Competing with such low prices, often below production costs, didn't make sense. That left Chinese companies fighting each other in an overcrowded market. So, this isn't just healthy competition, it's a dangerous economic brawl. More than 100 firms are battling in a shrinking market, chasing survival rather than innovation. It's no longer about who grows fastest. It's about who can last the longest. One of the biggest problems caused by China's price wars is deflation. When prices keep falling across many industries like electric vehicles, solar panels, and building materials. While cheaper prices might seem good for shoppers, deflation actually hurts the economy. It makes people delay spending, cuts into company profits, and can lead to long-term economic slowdown. Right now, both consumer and producer prices in China are falling, showing weak demand and growing uncertainty. At the same time, many companies are taking on more debt just to survive. They aren't borrowing to grow, they're borrowing just to stay in business. Some are even giving suppliers promise-free notes, which are basically IOUs saying, "We'll pay you later." This shows how desperate the situation has become. The damage is already clear. Bankruptcy cases have tripled since 2020, and many smaller companies have shut down. Even larger firms are seeing profits drop to record lows. In some sectors, most businesses are now losing money. This isn't healthy competition anymore. It's a fight for survival. Worse, the problem is also hitting local governments. Many of them support local companies with subsidies or cheap land. But now they're under pressure to spend even more to help these companies, even though they're already deep in debt. This is risky because their main source of income, land sales, has collapsed due to the real estate slowdown. As a result, many local governments are now heavily in debt, and some have already needed help from Beijing. If they keep borrowing to support companies that may not even survive, China could face a much bigger national debt crisis, one that spreads beyond any single industry. Falling prices might seem like good news for consumers, but for China's leaders, they're a growing problem. The Chinese Communist Party is worried because these price wars are not just hurting profits. They're causing long-term damage to China's economy. The CCP calls this problem involution, which means a self-destructive race where everyone competes so hard that no one wins. In the EV and solar industries, they're losing money, taking on more debt, and delaying payments, all to undercut rivals. The whole industry suffers as a result. This situation creates two big risks. First, the price wars are fueling deflation. When prices keep falling, people delay spending, which slows down the economy even more. Second, both companies and local governments are borrowing too much to stay afloat. raising the chance of a debt crisis. The CCP has fixed similar problems before. In the 1990s and 2010s, when state-owned companies were the main players, the government simply told them to cut production. Because SOEs answered to the government, they listened and price wars ended. But today, things have changed. Most of the companies involved are private, and they don't always follow government orders. In one recent case, the CCP tried to get 33 solar companies to stop competing so aggressively. The agreement failed almost immediately because each company was focused on its own survival. This shift from state-run to private industries means the CCP's usual tools of control aren't working anymore. The government wants stability, but these industries are running on pure competition. That mismatch between politics and business is why this crisis is so difficult to solve. The Chinese Communist Party has faced industrial deflation before, and in the past, it had clear solutions. In the 1990s and mid-2010s, China struggled with overproduction and falling prices in industries like steel, coal, and cement. These sectors were controlled by state-owned enterprises, which followed government orders. Because SOEs answered directly to the government, the CCP could simply tell them to cut production. The companies obeyed, factories slowed down, supply dropped, and prices became stable again. This top-down approach worked well, as long as the government controlled the key industries. But today's situation is different. Now, the industries at the center of the deflation crisis, electric vehicles, solar panels, and batteries, are led by private companies, not SOEs. These businesses are competitive, fast-moving, and focused on profit. They depend on innovation and growth to survive, and they don't easily follow government instructions. This makes the CCP's old methods less effective. In 2023, the government tried to broker a price truce between 33 solar companies, but it failed almost immediately. No one wanted to be the first to stop cutting prices, fearing they'd lose out to their rivals. In such a competitive market, firms are more focused on survival than on obeying orders. This shows a bigger problem for the CCP. As China opens its economy and encourages private growth, it loses some control. In the past, the government could shape entire sectors with a few decisions. Today, that's much harder because private companies now drive the most important industries. So while the CCP has solved similar crises before, this one is more difficult. The same tools like production cuts and direct orders don't work as well anymore. That's why today's deflation problem feels more serious and harder to manage. In the end, this is not just an economic issue, but a political one too. The CCP is learning that with a more market-driven economy comes less control and more uncertainty. As price wars continue in China and old strategies fail, the Chinese Communist Party is facing a difficult reality. Controlling supply isn't enough to fix the economy. In the past, telling state-owned companies to cut production worked because demand was still steady. But today, the real issue is that people aren't spending enough. Even if production is reduced now, it may not help prices go up because consumer demand is too weak. Many people are holding back on spending. Wages have stopped growing, youth unemployment is high, and after COVID lockdowns and a weak property market, there's a lot of fear and uncertainty. People are saving more and spending less, and that's a problem that supply cuts can't solve. So, the CCP is being pushed to focus on the other side of the equation, increasing demand. That means encouraging people to spend more. But this isn't just about asking them to shop. It requires big changes. First, the government needs to boost consumer confidence. If people are afraid of losing their jobs or can't afford healthcare or housing, they won't spend. Improving social protections like healthcare, pensions, and unemployment benefits can help reduce that fear. Second, China must rebalance its economy. For years, growth has come from building infrastructure, exporting goods, and investing in real estate. But that model is slowing down. The future depends on consumption-led growth, getting ordinary people to drive the economy by spending more. That means growing the middle class and giving them the confidence and income to fuel demand. But this transformation won't be easy. It requires reforms in income, labor rights, housing, education, and even letting go of some state control. It's a risky and sensitive process, but it's necessary if China wants to avoid long-term deflation and economic stagnation. In short, the CCP can't rely only on controlling companies anymore. It must empower citizens to become the new engine of growth. Without stronger domestic demand, the cycle of price wars, bankruptcies, and weak growth will continue. The real solution lies in unlocking the spending power of the Chinese people. China's price wars are not just a domestic problem. They're happening at a time when the global power structure is shifting. The old world order, led by the United States, is showing signs of decline. For most of the 20th and early 21st centuries, the U.S. was the dominant global power. It led in trade, technology, culture, and military strength. But recently, events like the 2008 financial crisis, political divisions, and unpredictable foreign policy, especially during the Trump years, have weakened America's global leadership. At the same time, China has been rising, offering a different path. Its model is based on state-led capitalism and big projects like the Belt and Road Initiative. But the current price wars in electric vehicles, EVs, and solar panels show that China's economy is also under pressure. Falling prices, rising debt, and weak control over private companies suggest that China's growth model is now struggling. This situation raises big questions. Can the U.S. stay ahead in key industries like tech and clean energy? Or will other powers, like China, India, or a group of emerging countries, take the lead? If the U.S.-led world order fades, who will replace it? Will power be shared more evenly in a multipolar world? Or will global tensions increase? China's price wars are just one example of the uncertainty facing the world economy. If China can fix its problems and build strong industries, it might become even more influential. But if it fails, the global balance of power could shift in unexpected ways. If you enjoyed the video, then please hit the like and subscribe button for more videos like this. And with that, this is Visionomics signing out.